They say if you drive down the forgotten back roads of Forsyth County, you'll come to a clearing where the woods lean in close, as if listening. There, beneath the strangled vines and broken oaks, sits what's left of Hightower Church. The windows are long gone, but the wooden frames still hold shards of glass like jagged teeth. Inside, the pews are rotting, warped by decades of rain. People whisper that no matter how long the church has been abandoned, the air inside always smells faintly of smoke, as if the fire that once gutted the place never really went out. Locals warn not to linger after dark. They say the shadows under the rafters move differently than they should, bending in ways the moonlight doesn't explain. Some claim that if you sit in the front pew and wait long enough, you'll hear hymns sung by voices that aren't there, low, mournful, almost pleading. And if you're unlucky enough to catch sight of the figure behind the pulpit, you must not let it see you. For those who have walked out of Hightower at night might not leave alone. The church doesn't want visitors, but sometimes it calls them anyway. One summer night, a friend of mine gave into that call. He went to the ruins of Hightower after dark, armed with nothing but curiosity and the glow of his iPhone camera. On the way in, he snapped a few pictures of the woods and the church, not thinking much of it, just eerie shots to show his friends later. The place felt wrong. He walked the grounds, listening to the creak of the boards and the distant stir of the woods. The air carried a heaviness, thick and watchful. Before long, that creeping sense of dread pressed too close, and he decided to leave. At the time, he had no idea what his phone had really captured. That night at home, nothing seemed unusual. He and his roommate went to bed and fell into an unnaturally deep sleep. So deep, in fact, that the multiple alarms they had set for the next morning came and went without waking them. When they finally stirred, the apartment was a nightmare. His roommate's dog had been violently sick during the night, from both ends and all over the place. The mess was everywhere: carpet, walls, corners. And yet neither of them had heard a sound. The dog, usually playful and eager, lay curled up in the corner, eyes wide, trembling as though it had seen something it shouldn't. With his roommate already late for work, my friend was left to clean up the wreckage. He rented a steam cleaner from Walmart and set about scrubbing the place back to normal. Their duplex was quiet, the neighbors gone, the summer air still. He had just finished scrubbing a rug in the family room, leaving neat little triangle patterns in the carpet fibers, when he heard it. A noise from the office. The dog was in the kitchen, but something was moving. He froze, then cautiously went to check. Desk, chair, books. Nothing had shifted. Nothing was out of place. Convinced he was just hearing things, he turned back toward the living room and stopped cold. The fresh roll of paper towels, which had been sitting upright on a side table, now lay in the middle of the floor. A chill ran up his spine. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe he'd knocked it over without noticing. But no. The windows were closed, the doors locked. There was no breeze, no reason for it to move. He tried to brush it off and went back to steaming the carpet. But then came the sound again. Movement. From the office. This time the hair on the back of his neck stood straight up. Still, he forced himself to look. Again, nothing. But when he turned back into the living room, his blood ran cold. There, pressed into the damp carpet, cutting across the fresh triangle brush marks, was a single footprint. He fled the apartment in terror, calling his father for help. His father reminded him of prayers meant to drive away unwelcome spirits. Summoning every ounce of courage, he returned and recited them loudly, firmly into every corner of the apartment. When he finished, the silence held. No footsteps, no noises, no movement. The air felt still again, and for the moment he believed it was over. Days later, showing a friend the pictures he had taken at Hightower, the truth revealed itself. In one shot, half hidden behind a tree, was a pale figure with eyes as white as bone. Not solid, not flesh, but there, watching him. Another picture of the church itself showed the same thing. In the second-story window, staring out into the night, was that same figure, waiting. The realization washed over him like ice water. Whatever had followed him home hadn't been imagined. It was real. It had crossed the threshold with him. He read the prayers again, this time with shaking hands. Whatever it was, it seemed to stay away. Maybe it went back to Hightower. Maybe it waits there still, behind broken glass and rotting pews. But my friend made one thing clear. He will never set foot near that church again. Not at night. Not anywhere haunted. Not after what came home with him. Because some places don't let you visit. They claim you. And Hightower Church is one of them.
If you've enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe. Turn notifications on so you will know when